Keep that focus on that starlight. God of my universe, part of my mission, righteous the all might. Raw splitting the sea into that clear sight. Go far into vision, lifting up that soul right. High low, high low, high low, high low. Elevate my love, generate my touch. Everything I see coming to me, I'm knowing. Fruits that I bear from the sowing. I just put in work to the morning, to the three bird that we heard. Stepping through the light, that's a rebirth. Giving thanks to life and the ether. I can never fall when I'm free word. Free bird, free word, free bird, free word, free bird.
Good night, beautiful. Good night. Come on in. Come on in. Share the love. Hold my mic closer. Let me go to get the live shared on Facebook. Share the live, share the live.
I know.
I fucking love
Thanks
you.
to the fire. Righteous the all might. Raw splitting the sea into that clear sight. Go far into vision, lifting up that soul right. High low, high low, high low, high low.
Good night, buddy. I am
my love, generate my touch. Everything I see coming to me, I'm knowing. Fruits that I bear from the sowing. I just put in work to the morning, to the three bird that we heard. Stepping through the light, that's a rebirth. Giving thanks to life and the ether. I can never fall when I'm free word. Free bird, free word, free bird, free word, free bird. I'm Elo.
Is it still breaking up? Tell me if it's still breaking up.
Catch me chilling with the Elo. Universal flow, I belong here. Sun rays like a satellite. Energies bring me back to life. Catch me chilling with the Elo. Universal flow, I belong here.
Okay, it's better now. Okay, wonderful. So I realized my home network is terrible. So I'm using my phone hotspot because it just moves better. So everybody,
hey guys,
good night. You guys know what we here
hey.
for. Y'all know what time it is.
What's up?
So, as you guys know, the music in the background that you just heard was from Sky Ken, and the song is Elo. So, my lovely co-host is getting herself together. So we are going to let her get herself together. But in the meantime, I have my lovely cosmic queens here with me. And, shoot. You guys, I don't want to get feedback. Okay, yeah, okay. There we go. I don't want to feedback for you guys. So, anyhow, I have my lovely extended co-host tonight with me. You guys gave such reviews, great reviews and feedback, on the podcast last episode, and because of the feedback, I just thought it befitting because it was so much that we didn't cover that we can still dive into. So I just thought it befitting to have these lovely ladies come back on with us and vibe with us and share with us and share some love with us. And so I'm very grateful to have the Asher Weather Woman, Omi Sade, and Cosmic Fairy Avi with us today, Avi. And so I'm going to, even before we get deep into it, I'm going to give them a proper opportunity to introduce themselves, one, what they're from, what they specialize in, their handles, how you guys can get in contact with them, to book private sessions and do some deep dives, so I want to give them that time to have this space to do that, but in the meantime, please like, subscribe, share, send it to someone in their inbox, just share the love, let's build a vibration tonight. And so I thank you for your time. I thank you for visiting. I thank you for stopping by. I thank you for building with us. And so starting with Asher Weather Woman. Well, no, I'll start with Avi. Go ahead, because Asher Weather Woman got a lot of time last time. So I'm going to start with Avi. Yes. So Avi,
Okay.
introduce yourself to the people. Tell the people
All
who
right.
you are, where you're from, what you do, how they can get in tune with you, all that good stuff. Just, build a vibe with the people tonight. I'm going to drink some water.
All right. Well, of course, my name's Avi. It's short for Aviam. It's actually a Hebrew name that my mother found in a Hebrew Bible that stands for Father, King of the Sea. I'm really good with astrology. That's something I've been studying since, I want to say, 2016. Astrology, I would say, is my strong suit. I'm not a 100% expert. I'm not even sure if being an expert is even possible with something as limitless as astrology or the constellations. Because oftentimes when it comes to things of the heavens and things of the supernatural, I don't even know if, me, myself as a person can even fathom how deep the mysteries of the planets and the asteroids may go. But when it comes to trying to help someone understand themselves, help someone get a little more insight into their natal chart, into what their soul wants to communicate with them, I kind of channel the planets a little bit when I'm doing a lot of astrology readings. So it's more so about connecting with the person and not always trying to see, oh, well, you'll have X amount of kids and you'll die this way. No, things can manifest in so many ways. There's always an evolved way. Aspects and natal charts can manifest, as well as a devolved way certain planets and aspects can manifest. But also getting out of astrology, I am a hoodoo. That is an African American spiritual system that was founded by African American slaves. We believe in God. We believe in the ancestors. We work with nature.
Yes.
Some people are root workers. Some people are root doctors. Some people are conjure men or conjure women. Many people have their specialties. I'm someone that's just always just growing. And hey, Ray.
Hello.
Hey.
Like I was saying, I'm just someone that's always consistently just growing within what I'm doing. I'm forever a student.
Ashe. And where you from?
I'm from Chicago.
And your social media handles, how can people find you and they can better get in tune with you?
On Facebook, it's my name, Aviam, Aviyam Jordan. On Instagram, it's _ the Jordan Journal.
Oh, I love that. The Jordan Journal. That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, it might be about 2 underscores.
Nice. Okay. Well, when you have it and get a moment, send it to me and then I'll attach it in the comments. And so people can definitely have the tag handle there for them to be able to find you on social media. And Asher Weather Woman, Let the people hear
Hey.
from you, my darling.
So I was gonna put my tag in the comment section, but I'm gonna make sure I do
Yes.
that before the end of this. My name is Fallon. My birth name is Fallon, um, and my mother gave me that name from, I'm actually named after a character off of a show. It's funny how we dive deeper to names because they're actually very, expressive of the personality. And what Fallon means is it means leader.
Mm-hmm.
And I take full, you know, account to that. And I have many names that I go by. As I go through certain rites of passages, it usually a name is given to me, or when there's a rebirth, there's always a name that's given to me. Omi Sade, as you guys can see, is I practice Ifa, and I got that name when I got my first Dafa reading, and it means um, water, water that made a crown, or water made abundance. And
Mm-hmm.
it connects to my mothering, nurturing nature, to create abundance through my emotions, because my emotions is the fuel to the vehicle of my manifestations. So how I
That's it.
feel about things is how they usually set off. And I gave myself the Astro Weather Woman because I feel like it's just something to relate to. I've been into astrology since I was like 5 years old. I've always wanted to know
Mm-hmm.
how. I never got too deep into the planets, but I was always into the constellations and better understanding how I relate to the constellation, my sun sign, and how I relate to others. And then in 2016, I was introduced to the birth chart, which is the blueprint, which is the snapshot of the stars and the planet, the day, the time, and the place that you were born. And when I started to dive into that journey, I started to learn more about myself outside of my ego. I am a Sagittarius. That's why I got on my Sagittarius hoodie. I sell these hoodies, the Zodiac Vibe hoodies. And so, when I realized that I'm more than my sun sign, it allowed me to go deeper. And Aviam is so correct when she mentioned that I don't even think it's possible to really be an expert, in this field, because we're always constantly creating. And um, I was also informed that, the sun created the planets come from the energy of the sun, and there's always things being created. So um, I utilize the energy through self-awareness to apply, to relate to my experiences, to better maximize my experience, to better understand myself and relate to others.
That's
Not
it.
only am
That's
I
it.
an astrologer, but I also am a caregiver. I also am a doula in training, and I'm also on the mission of becoming licensed to be to sell insurance, because people need it. People need security, and I'm learning more about financial abundance, and which is your finances, your money, your currency is how things flow in your life by using your gifts. So that's a little bit about myself, and um,
Ashe.
I'm excited to be here.
Ashe. Ashe. I love it. Ashe. And Rain has made it in. She
Hello,
has
hello,
showered us with her
hello.
blessed
Yes,
presence
yes,
tonight. She
yes.
has showered us with her blessed presence tonight. So, you know, like I said, you guys gave such wonderful feedback, and the last week was so amazing. I took a little weekend trip and went away and got recharged and refueled and ready to go. And I've been looking forward to this live, having this time with you guys, learning some more things, because I walked away learning quite a bit, and I'm sure a lot of people walked away from last week learning quite a bit. And so this week, we also need you guys' participation. Post your questions. When we ask for your signs, post your signs so that we can do some deep dives and utilize and gain as much downloads from these queens as possible, and gain better understanding of ourselves and each other. Because as you guys listen not only about yourselves, as we converse about the other signs, you're also able to learn about the people in and around you in this world that we share and coexist with others with, and so I'm excited. And so
Yeah.
as you guys saw last week, we got into the elements of the moon and the sun, but unfortunately Avian did not have the time to share with us longer, getting into the moon. And so I'm going to moderate and steer the conversation a little bit as we flow through, because I kind of want to cover everybody and us walk a nice road so everyone that is listening is able to get a little bit of something good. Okay. And so some people are already commenting, which is wonderful. I'm also a fellow Pisces, so shout out to the Pisces. All right. And some Tauruses are in the audience. I know some Virgos are in the audience. I know some Cancers are in the audience. And so interact and talk to us. And so now that we're going into this shift and we're coming out of this season of, this dark phase and dark period, and even understanding it with us, within ourselves, I want to pick back up, diving deeper into the moon element of the sign and more of the Lilith element of the sign. And we're going to navigate through it. Rain, did you have anything you wanted to add or comment?
I have a lot of questions, so let's go with the flow. I really wanted to get into the rising. I know Astro Weather
Okay.
Woman did a very brief overall of the rising, but through my studies, I
Yes.
realized that your rising sign is more of how people will interpret you and see you. So that's who you present to the world. So I'm very curious to go more into the
Okay.
rising because that's your first initial impression.
Ashe. Okay, so let's start there because we can start with rising. So I'm gonna let Asher Woman gather her accoutrements and situate herself, and then we can get into the moon.
I'm just rolling up some ganja.
Of course. Get into the moon because that's very true. Me being a Pisces, moon Pisces sun, and an Aquarius rising, I definitely, a lot of things that people say about Pisces, some things I agree with and some things I don't. But let me say, I do some Pisceans, both male and female, older and younger, that do carry some of those traits. And so I kind of see the similarities and differences. But I tend to say that I'm a true Pisces because I have the sun and moon element of Pisces. But I realized how I navigate a lot of times, or even as people may see me in certain areas, they see the Aquarian element. And so sometimes Piscean kind of gets looked over or misunderstood because the element of the Aquarius is there. So I'm definitely intrigued to see what is going to be revealed tonight about that rising element. So yes, Asha Weather Woman. Starting with go ahead. I'm gonna let you flow. Go ahead, rock.
So the rising sign is what I like to kind of category as the book cover. We all have a story. And that's really what I look at astrology as when you're diving into your chart. It's like your personal story. But also it's also the energy that you're inherited with. And that's how I feel. Because I guess I may feel that way because my sun sign and my rising sign is the same. So what you see is what you get with me. Outside of getting deeper and emotional, because we did talk about how the moon sign is really how we come off through our emotional experiences. But that rising sign, like I said, the way that you determine your rising sign is through the time of birth. So a lot of people don't know what time they were born. A lot of people don't remember, or they do remember, but they're unsure. So I would suggest you ask your mama, because she know what time she pushed your big head ass out. or she know what time. I'm just joking. And she knows, or looking at your birth certificate, a little story. When I knew my time of birth, but I went through identity theft. Okay, and I think that's an adversity because I had a lot of planets in the first house, including Saturn. So there's a lot of lessons that came with that. And I needed to retrieve a birth certificate. And when I went to the official space to get my birth certificate, I had to ask the clerk, like, can I get my time of birth on there? She was like, why do you want to know that? Y'all don't even know. My Sag gang almost came out up on her. Like, what do you mean? Why do I want to know my personal information. The time that I was born is significant, just like my name, significant. You know, how I was cultivated in that room during birth is significant. And it maps out our story. And so
Mm.
I realized that I'm an advocate in that aspect. And I informed a lot of people because they didn't know. They was like, oh, I got my birth certificate, but they didn't put the time on there. And it's like, no, you supposed they have all that record. They have all those records. But they keep it away from us, you know, for a reason. But I do feel like those who are tapped in and understand, you know, we warriors. We're gonna fight for what's ours. And so I just
At the
empower
end of the
people
day.
who don't know their time of birth. Do not get it discouraged. Just get a little bit more proactive. Talk to your mom or talk to, you know, anybody who has handles on your birth story. I know we all have different stories. And also, you know, when you go to the DMV, ask for that. But that rising sign is just it sets the tone for your houses as well too. So
Mm.
the way that the houses are placed in your houses is really the certain aspects in life. There's 12 houses, like there's 12 constellations, and the houses set the tone for that. So, for example, my rising sign is Sagittarius. Okay, but it's on the very cusp, and those degrees matter too. It's 29 degrees Sagittarius. So I'm damn near like a Capricorn rising, but it sets the tone to my houses to the point that my first house and second house is filled with Sagittarius, where it kind of just skips Capricorn and then it goes in order. It goes in order. So Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and it goes down. And in my sixth and seventh house, it doubles. And I see that a lot of times too, where you see in certain planet placements, you see that's funny that you mentioned Oprah. That's Oprah's an Aquarius. That's that second house energy. She's the money lady in our lifetime. I will say that. And so yeah, that's pretty much my interpretation of what the rising sign is. And also, I attract a lot of people who, like, if you say, for instance, like El Ra, he says that people overlook the Piscean, the Piscean parts because they see the Aquarius, they see the humanitarian, they see the person who operates a little bit more mechanical because Aquarius energy is an air sign, so it's a lot of intellect with that. But El Ra is full of spirit, which also is underneath all of that. And our rising sign really supports us. I think it's that in between space between also like our past life energy. Like I said, it kind of can tell the story of what energy I cultivate in my past life that I am inherited with in this life. And I feel like Aviam, you may can speak deeper to this. With me being
Yeah, I was going to ask her.
Yeah, with me being a Sag rising and a Sag sun, would you consider that like karmic? Would you consider that I didn't complete my mission in my past life?
Wait. We're gonna get there. Wait.
Okay. So that was just my question for Aviana.
Yeah. So we're gonna bookmark the question. I like the question. It is in my. We're gonna see, because the reason I say we're gonna get there, because we're gonna cover every sign tonight and what we need to know about those signs. Okay. You guys don't have to go intricate into the houses unless your spirit navigates you to speak on that and action of. But what my question was going to be to Avi, to integrate you into the conversation, was, what is your understanding of the rising position and its importance or its impact on our stories?
Okay, so all right, I just want to say this really quick. If something breaks up, my Wi-Fi is not the best right now. So just send me a message, let me know. But when it gets to the rising sign, oftentimes there are two things that I hear a lot of astrologers say. Is that one, it can say everything that you didn't finish in a past life that can demonstrate what you're came here to do for this life. Like you mentioned, you were a Sag rising, correct?
Yes.
It could be something involving freedom. It could be something involving liberating other people. And liberation does not have to mean you have to be like the next Dr. Martin Luther King and have to be the next big time, Black power person. It can be literally liberating your bloodline, liberating women, liberating others emotionally, or what you're doing with liberating people with understanding their natal chart. With Ra being like an Aquarius rising. He could have in his past life, Aquarius, we're the humanitarians. It could have been something as in bringing the right people together, connecting people, bringing people with a sense of unity, looking out for the greater good of the collective, doing something to heal the collective.
Yes.
With that water that Aquarius has before it pours out into Pisces.
Yes.
You know, he might have
Yes.
something in the past life where he did not finish where he needs to finish pouring out some water. That water could represent a lot of different things on
He
what
double
Aquarius
water.
can pour into the humanity. You know, because Aquarius, we're an air sign, even though we're the water bearer. And also the evolved the evolved state of the Aquarius is the angel. If some of you heard of that, just like how when they talk about with Scorpios, some say that they are the eagle or the phoenix.
And there's 3 different manifestations that's tied to each sign, as long as with the deacons as well too. I understand that for the Scorpio, you have the scorpion, you have the phoenix, and then you have the eagle.
Yeah, I heard of that as well. And the funny thing is, Aquarius, Scorpio, Leo, and Taurus, the 4 fixed signs, those are known as the wealth modalities. And also, those signs are also referenced in the Bible. Well, they weren't directly referenced, but in Revelation, there's a time where they talk about seeing an angel with the face of an angel, a bull.
Yes.
What was it? Eagle. I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar.
It reminds me of, is that the world card? I was going to say that the world card in tarot. I was just going to say that that's the world card.
Yes.
And even in Ezekiel, they reference it. They reference it about 3 times.
Yes, when you mention the book of Ezekiel, when you talk about the book of Ezekiel and those elements, it ties to the cardinal elements, symbolize with the animals that we use when it comes to the points in Kabbalah, the 4 cardinal points in Kabbalah. When you tap into the universal energies, you know. Go ahead, Rain. I know you had your Baptist finger up. Come with it.
Well, I was just very curious about Taurus rising because I find like my chart is very Venusian, and I feel like if I didn't know myself, I would think I was a Taurus.
Yes.
Oh, you want to about being a Taurus rising, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Rising.
All right.
Yes.
My sister is a Taurus rising. I like Taurus rising. Well, I'm a Leo rising, so I love all fixed modality risings of people.
Yes.
But anyway, also going back into something about rising, your rising sign. Being about what you could have needed to finish in a past life. It also can represent how your family treated you when you were first born and first entered this life. You know, for example, being a Taurus rising, you could have been spoiled when you were a kid, or your mother could have been very overbearing and protective when you were a kid.
Her mother's a Taurus, right? Isn't your mother
my mom's a Taurus?
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I see those connections and relations. There's a sister in the comments who said that she's trying to understand her Capricorn rising because that's where she's always stuck. Where are you stuck at, sis?
Yeah, that's Devontae. That's Devontae.
It could be her house where you're stuck at. It could be with the house where you're Saturn.
Okay, so let's talk about the Capricorn. Let's talk about the Capricorn rising since we brought a comment there.
Hey, Fallon, what do you think about Capricorn rising?
Well, that's because I'm almost there, and I know a few Capricorn risings. They are very hard working. Sometimes I feel like they can be so hard working until they miss out on the experience in life.
Wow.
I feel like, and I've seen some Capricorns risings. You know, I've seen it manifest in 2 air signs, one a Libra, one a Gemini. And the one for the Gemini is more so they're very hardworking, a reputation. Their reputation is always on the forefront, or there's some fear around their reputation. Or they always care about. It's not like the Taurus, whereas it could be kind of the Taurus and Capricorn are both earth signs, but I feel like that Capricorn rising is more so about work, politics, when it comes down to family life. Sometimes you can get very caught up in taking care of family and missing out on that aspect of really, you know, connecting, because it's also in between that Sag and that Aquarius energy. And I always look at that relationship because the Sag is so free and about travel and about freedom, and then Capricorn is about discipline, structure, and how things look. And then you have the Aquarius, which is like, you know, I gotta care about the people. Fuck how it looks. You know, or it does matter how it looks, but the reason why it looks weird is because we're not caring about the people, you know. So I would just suggest with the Cap rising, I guess that sense of emotional detachment. You may have a lot of emotional intelligence, which is why you get a lot of work done, or why you may be successful. I'm curious to know. Oh, your sun sign is also in Taurus, so yeah, in a Pisces moon. So yeah, you definitely definitely about building, definitely about, you know, grounding yourself. You sometimes you may even have fear around your stability because you kind of, your Pisces moon needs creativity, and creativity is important, like, you know, diving into your art. A lot of times the Capricorn rising can forget how artistic they are, because remember, the Capricorn is also half goat, but also nobody talks about how it's also half seagull. So that Capricorn also needs that means of expression creatively. And it's also a feminine sign. A lot of people say it's the father of the zodiac, but it's also a feminine sign. It's also tied into the creativity and what you are creating in this world to bring structure into this world. So if you want to dive more into that,
Devontae, I think she just gave you, Devontae, she just read you, boy. She just read you. She picked up on all your feminine energy and then your whole masculine presentation. She just came with it real quick. And then we have Mama Kamisha. Kashima, she said, back to this triple cancer thing. Can y'all discuss Cancer rising? Come on, give it to her. Cancer rising. I mean, yes, the Cancer rising. Let's get into it.
And that's the polar opposite of Capricorn. So
yeah, it is. And there was a few things I did want to get into with Devontae really quick, just before it slips my mind. I promise I'm going to get into who's next. But when it comes to being a Capricorn rising, Taurus sun, and Pisces moon, that definitely gives me that you had a lot of tough experiences with women, in particular your mother figure, oftentimes with Pisces moons. In the best of ways, they had a mother who was very spiritual and very intuitive and could read their energies and how they felt, you know, positive ways of Piscean energies towards the moon as a mother. Or it could have led to a Pisces moon where your mother could have been an alcoholic, on drugs, or somebody who may even sacrifice themselves for other people. And you see your mother just be a martyr, which can also lead to somebody, you know, being a Taurus, feeling like, oh, I definitely got to make me some money. Oh, I definitely got to go get my security. You know, having that type of moon sign and then being also evolving into a Taurus sun, I can see that there's a part of you that was always going to make sure you got that bag and you got that stability. And then also Capricorn placements, they care a lot what people think. And, you know, it's normal to feel that way. You know, Capricorns have it very tough. You know, Capricorn placements have it very tough. Saturn is no joke, but it definitely rewards you. And, you know, being that Capricorn rising, you more than likely have Cancer as your 7th house. So try to get into partnerships with people who have Cancer-like qualities. If they're not Cancer placements, you can still have a Cancer-like quality. You know, people that are very nurturing towards you, people who are emotionally understand you. You know, you might not need that tough love, even if it feels like it's right. Because I understand being a Capricorn placement, you might feel real connected to tough love. You probably grew up with tough love. You probably only know it. But if you can find someone in your life, or pray or manifest, or whatever spiritual way you go about it, try to get someone who is a compassionate listener, someone who is a safe space, someone who will accept you unconditionally. Try to get someone with those moon-like qualities. They can be any sun sign and have that.
I can relate to that as a Capricorn stellium, Devontae, like that whole, and I didn't even know it was there because it was more so of the back end of it. But that stability thing, that having to parent yourself is a real thing.
Yeah.
And back to this Cancer rising. Let's get sis together.
Yeah. So right now, something we're also doing is we said we were talking about the Cancer rising, and I think it was
triple
Kashima. Back to the Cancer rising.
Yes, Kashima.
Oh,
Kashima. I'm sorry, Kamisha, not Kamisha.
Sorry if we mispronounced your name.
Kashima.
My apologies.
Kashima Smith, Mama Kashima.
But Cancer rising, you guys are always known to come across as so cut. Like I don't know. I met a lot of Cancer risings. You guys always have like this babiness about you. Like people just don't feel like
Oh my God, that is so
scared
true.
when they talk to you. They want to give you a hug like you're a little puppy or something.
Oh, that is so cute. That's so true.
And my best friend is a Cancer
Like
rising.
a lot of them give like, oh, you're so cute.
She hates it. And she's an Aquarius moon. My best friend hates it. She a Cancer
and, you know, there's
rising.
nothing wrong with that at all. You know?
But I wish I want her to
unless you have like a lot of aspects to Pluto on your rising. You know, you probably just give off like a real sweetness about yourself, and people probably just naturally like you. You know, but when it comes to Cancer risings, those are people I'm still trying to understand when it comes to the rising aspect of Cancer. Because the main thing I just noticed is that, you know, they tend to always be included into things. I noticed that people usually just tend to pull them into things and gravitate to them. I think it's mainly because with that Cancer energy, people just want those people around or something like that. Well, you know, other placements like, you know, a Capricorn or a Capricorn and Aquarius, or maybe a fixed modality might have had a little tougher when it came to being accepted. It seems like with Cancer risings, acceptance wasn't really too much of a thing you had to worry about too much. It seems like you guys were pretty much, you know, blessed in that type of way. May have been something in the past life.
Okay. I love it. Can we pause for 2 seconds and give some vocabulary definitions? Because we have a lot of babies as far as understanding, and we're using terminology that may not be familiar with them, you know. And so when we talk about modalities or fixed modalities, can you guys explain what that is and what that means really fast?
Okay. All right. So we have elements. We have air, water, fire, and earth. Those are the 4 elements of astrology. And those 4 elements, they all have 3 signs. The 3 fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. The 3 water are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. The 3 air are Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. And the 3 earth are Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. When it comes to modalities, those are the energies that a lot of the signs operate in. And a lot of those signs, and every every element has its own modality. There is the fixed modality, which has the fire sign of Leo, the air sign of Aquarius, the earth sign of Taurus, and the water sign of Scorpio. Those are people who are very good with being consistent and maintaining things. The other modality is cardinal. The fire sign is air. Water sign is Cancer. Air sign is Libra. And earth sign is Capricorn. Those are the signs that are excellent with initiating things and getting the ball rolling. The last 4 are immutable. That modality is known for being very adaptable to whatever type of energy is going on. And that's Pisces is the water sign, Gemini is the air sign, Virgo is the earth sign, and Sagittarius is the fire sign.
Okay, I love that. So now you guys are up to speed. So when there's,
I feel like I said a mouthful, you guys.
The lingo. You gave the proper education. You gave the proper education in a very beautiful manner. We all just learned something, including myself. You understand? So I'm very grateful. So now we can progress further, because now I think everyone is on a unified level of understanding. And
I do want to mention one thing to help. I do want to mention one thing to help break that down. It helped me. The feminine signs are the water and earth signs. Mm-hmm. The masculine signs are the fire and air signs.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I like that. And even when we think about Orisha, think about the water and think about the earth spirits. Mama Letta, you know, female Mother Earth. You think about, you know, Oya and the element of the bush. You think about Oshun and Yamanjani, elements of the water. You think about even, you know, Enrina, who's both water and earth element. So that's an androgynous element of Orisha. So you even think about it in your spiritual practices, how these things correlate. Because astrology, our spiritual practices, and when you come to the sacred sciences of Ifa or Lukumi or Santeria or whatever you follow, Hinduism, Buddhism, you know, guys know what I'm talking about. These are the principles. Everything is all interconnected. And so don't lose yourself in a sauce. Let it come to life to you and let it feed your spirit and follow, because you will get it. Trust me. And I like that you guys are following it very well. I'm loving the responses. Again, share, like, give me some hearts, give me some subscribes, give me some share the live, respond. And I'm just grateful for you guys' interaction. So now, as we got into those elements of those of you that have already commented, I want to go ahead and cover some people that may be a little afraid, or maybe on other platforms that I may not see comments. For example, Instagram, and comments are not showing up. However, I do have viewers there, and so I'm going to throw one out there. What about a Leo rising? What do we need to know about a Leo rising?
So the Leo rising is
I'm a Leo rising.
It's the book cover.
Oh, interesting.
It's the book cover, remember? So that's the rising sign. And we all know Leo energy is the lioness. Leo energy, or the lion, it represents strength and confidence and beauty. And it represents that solar plexus energy, I believe. And with that being in a rising sign, it's like that's what you exude, Avian. It makes so much sense that you are a Leo rising.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to hear from your perspective.
All right, I've studied my sign down, including every single house that we have for the Leos, because the best way to learn about astrology is to learn about yourself. So when it comes to being a Leo rising, they say usually when you have a fire rising, usually that means you did pretty good in a past life, and that's why all of your all of the signs and all of the houses are all in the right elements of the houses. Like you have all fire, you have a fire first house. First house is represented by Aries, a fire sign. So all of your houses are aligned with all of the elements, and that's for all fire risings. So that's one thing that I've learned about being a Leo rising. It's just something pretty basic, but outside of that, being a Leo rising, oftentimes we interpret everything as a stage. We interpret that, a lot of times, not always that we're celebrities, but there's always a part of us that enjoyed feeling like the star. There's a part of us that always enjoys liking to entertain people and be a storyteller, or be an actress, or be in the spotlight. A lot of us will be we're similar to how Leo Venuses are and Leo moons are when it comes to liking praise. It's not about wanting praise as if you want to be worshipped like you're a god or a deity. It's just having that healthy sense of admiration, that healthy sense of compliments, not in an arrogant way, but in a healthy way, to know that to feel celebrated. And we also are really big on celebrating the people we know, because celebrating people and celebrating ourselves as well as others is something that's a value for Leo placements. If somebody has like Leo as their rising, or is like any of their personal planets, which would be your sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and some would even say your Jupiter. If somebody has a Leo in there, they more than likely love words of affirmation. They more than likely love having a lot of affection poured upon them. Because Leos, we're like cats. We like our fur to be petted. We like you to stroke our mane. Tell us how we're beautiful. Tell us how you love, how we support you. And then all of a sudden we fall into telling you how great you are and how obsessed we are. We're very passionate people. We're similar to how Leo suns are in many of the ways. Our chart ruler, your rising sign, that's all your chart ruler will be the planet of your rising sign. My rising sign is Leo, is ruled by the sun. So the sun is my chart ruler. So right when you first see a Leo rising, you see the sun. So oftentimes there are many celebrities that have that. If they're in the background, usually they're that background singer that you always notice. Like Nick Jonas, for example, he's a Leo rising. And when he became, a solo star, he was in the background, but was always noticed. Oftentimes us as Leo risings, our 7th house, which is our house for partnership, that's Aquarius. It's your 7th house is always the opposite sign of your 1st house, which is your rising sign. It all goes back in the order. You have your rising sign, which is your 1st house. Then you have your 2nd house, which is the sign right after your rising sign. Just like how we have in regular astrology every day, we have the first starts with Aries as the beginning of the astrological year. It starts with Aries, then Taurus, then Gemini. That's how it is with your houses when it comes to your rising. You have to start like I'm a Leo. My first house is Leo, second is Virgo, third is Libra, rising Aquarius, first house Aquarius, second house, how you get your money is Pisces, third house, your peers, school, your family, that would be Aries, so on and so forth. And in derivative astrology, they can go by your sun sign. Like my sun sign's in Aquarius. So in derivative astrology, the seventh house of that is Leo. You can even do that with your Venus sign. You can do that with your Mercury sign. You can do that with a lot of your signs. So that was just more about actually risings than being a Leo rising. But being a Leo rising, oftentimes we come across as spoiled. People assume we're spoiled. People assume since we have Taurus as our midheaven with our reputation that we're heavily served and that things come to us easily. It's ruled by Venus. Another thing I learned about risings is that oftentimes when it comes to your sun sign, usually you admire the person who has your rising sign because they exude everything that you see yourself becoming. When it comes to synastry, when you're able to get,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then
go ahead. You just schooled us, girl.
Definitely.
Well, I'm so glad we got this recorded.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah. So, where did I forgot where I left off.
You were talking about synastry, like you were talking about.
Synastry.
The rising sign with someone else.
Your rising sign with synastry. When somebody has planets in your rising sign, usually there's a lot of mutual attraction with that. Usually, it's usually the planet person and person that's really into the ascendant person, but of course you want to have your time and make sure the planets are in the right house, because you might think, oh, I'm a Leo rising, so all Leo placements are in my first house. No, I'm a Leo rising at 28 degrees, so a lot of Virgo suns might end up being in my first house. But usually people with Virgo suns, for example, might be in my first house. But usually people with planets that touch your first house, they usually have an instant attraction to you. And usually that's when you kind of know somebody has a crush on you. You know that feeling when you know somebody likes you and they have a crush on you. You're more than likely the ascendant person. And they got all these planets and energies in that house of how you appear. That's like how somebody is of service to you. Usually it's your sixth house, for example. You're like, I'm an Aquarius, my sixth house is Capricorn. So if I end up meeting another Leo rising who might have a sixth house in Capricorn, for all I know, a lot of my Aquarius placements might fall in there. And I might see myself just naturally being of service and being of goodwill to this person.
That is good. That's something to definitely take note about when you guys listen back to that, because you guys are going to definitely need to listen back to take all that in and take your notes, because those are pivotal points. Again, sticking to the topic of cultivating relationships, building relationships, how we attract people, what we are attracted to, how we engage, whether it's through friendship, intimacy, business dynamics. These are things to be mindful of. There was a question that was posted by Mama Star. She said, I'm May 19th, Taurus. Does that mean I'm Taurus rising? I have a lot of Gemini traits. Where's my sun sign? I've always identified as Phoenix. That is my pen name. So I don't know if just being an automatic Taurus that can speak to the rest of these things that she asked, but maybe you guys can give some type of insight.
So I'm thinking maybe that's the cuspy energy, and that's why she also feels the Gemini traits. So usually the cusp energy is in between, like the beginning of that sign, whether in Taurus energy, I think it ends on the 20th. So that's where that switch is. So you consider the cuspy.
Go to astro.com and put in your natal chart and put in your birth information.
And
you might have like a Gemini Mercury.
It depends on the year you were born as well too. Because I've known I know Aquarius, 2 Aquarius born on the 20th of January, and one of them says Capricorn because they were born in 92, and the other one was born in 93. So his was Aquarius, and I've seen that also a few times.
Okay, now let me ask you guys this. Again, when it comes to the rising, just to specify to help Mama Star and anyone else who's going to do the research. For those that may not know the time, but they know the location, date, and year of course, how accurate of information will they receive from the chart when we get into the rising aspect?
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that one.
Okay, that's a fair answer.
I'm not
So,
sure. I
Mama
know
Star, you're gonna have to do.
there's ways to divine, but I'm not
Of
familiar with.
course, of course. Okay, so for those that don't know their time and you can't get your birth chart, you can schedule a simple consultation with me, and we can divine and get that time, and even you can take the initiative to cross verify that time. But it's been pretty spot on. So we can set up time for that, and you can reach out to me privately to do that. But also take the advice that Asher Weatherwoman gave initially, which was do the due diligence, call the hospital, call your Department of Records, birth records of your county or state or city, whichever one, and obtain that information. It's a phone call. You may have to be on hold a while, but it's worth it because this is for you. You may need to go up to the place and drive a little time or sit and wait. It's worth it because it's for you. And so do your due diligence and seek out the information so that you can better know yourself. Um, Rain, do you want to shout out a sign that you're interested about knowing a rising sign of?
Pisces risings.
Okay.
I love
I don't
that.
know many Pisces risings.
I know quite a few Pisces risings. They're very creative. They're really the artists that I've seen, the ones who are really good at music, and they love to, dive into art in that way. They just have a channel in that, and no matter what sign they were, that's just what they did in a different way. They're creators in that way. They tap into their more artistic side and whatever they're interested in.
Thank you. Thank you.
I like that. I like that. I like
too.
that. I like that. Let me see. Anybody else curious about knowing of a rising sign? If not, we're going to shift into the element of moon and Lilith energy. Go ahead, Rain.
So I heard Avi mention earlier your midhaven, and I've always been very curious about the midhaven because I heard it's supposed to tell you like what types of jobs would be beneficial for you, how your public image is displayed in the world. So can you edify us a little bit more about the midhaven? And
Nice.
I know my midheaven is an Aquarius, so can you tell me a little bit more about like your midheaven and midhavens in Aquarius?
Oh yeah, of course. When it comes to your midheaven, that's your 10th house. And the 10th house that's corresponded to Capricorn. And with your 10th house, that does demonstrate your reputation. That does demonstrate how you can come across. It also demonstrates how you come across on social media too. Like your Leo rising is when people first see you in public in public, and then it's your midheaven that people see when they see you on social media and online. So, what else is there? It's also like when people, they don't know you, but people might assume that you might be the zodiac sign of your midheaven or your rising. But usually when people assume zodiac signs, usually they're able to see your midheaven or they're looking at your rising. But getting deeper into your midheaven, it can be, like we said, with reputation, like for Aquarius, like having an Aquarius midheaven can come across as, well, in good and bad ways. You can come across as somebody that's creative. Some people might view someone with Aquarius midheaven as someone who's weird. Like you said, that Nicki Minaj has an Aquarius midheaven. And that can be why a lot of times when she first came out with her career being very different and being eccentric, people was like, oh, she's weird. Why she got all these colors and all these different eye contacts and all these different Aquarius midheaven? Usually people with Aquarius midheavens, risings, and Aquarius in their big six, in their big close placements, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. Usually they're people that are ahead of their time. Usually you're someone who would be on trends before they actually got popping. Similar to how someone that's an Aquarius, Sun, rising, or Moon, or, like I said, in their big six. Oftentimes many Aquarius midheavens, they can probably be seen as loners as well, because they may be able to be in groups. They may be extroverted, but usually they tend to be solo, similar to how a lot of Aquarius placements are. Or when they're seen, they're always seen by themselves. Or they could be that person with like, oh, I didn't know you had a lot of friends like that. Or they can also be seen as people who are in the community very often as well. And then you have to look at the ruler
Well,
of
I have to
your
look
10th
at
house
my
too. If your ruler is Aquarius, the ruler of your 10th house is Saturn and Uranus. And then you want to see what houses is your Saturn and Uranus in. And that can even give you more insight of like how those planets can work on your behalf and how you can get the best out of your evolution out of your midheaven. You know, I don't know where your Saturn's place or your Uranus is placed, but wherever it's placed is something you should always be able to look into so that you can see how to make the best type of representation of yourself, if that's something you're interested in.
My Saturn is in Capricorn, I believe.
No, the houses. Like if your Saturn's in the 3rd house, the 4th house.
That I don't know.
Well, the planet does matter as well, but say that again.
I said I didn't know the house.
Oh, okay. So when it comes to houses, you have your birth time, correct?
Yes.
All right. So there are many sites to
I'm
look
looking
at
at my
your
birth chart right now.
AstroSeek is one that's pretty good, and it'll have all of the houses that all of your planets are in. So to make the most out of that planet, I mean, of course, it's always important to know, like, oh, what sign is that planet in, but also what house it's in. Because let's say, like, for example, my 10th house ruler is Venus. Venus has 2 expressions, a masculine expression and a feminine one. It expresses itself feminine in Taurus. It expresses itself in a masculine way with Libra, an air sign. So I have to look at, okay, it's my 3rd house, and then it's, my, you know, it's, I just forgot where I left off. Not my 3rd house. I'm thinking of my 3rd. I'm sorry, I'm a little buzzed and hot. My bad. But my Venus,
I was definitely gonna
Venus
ask.
is expressed in those 2 signs.
I was definitely
and my
gonna ask.
midheaven is Venus, and that and my midheaven is Venus, and my Venus is placed in the 8th house. And since my Venus is in the 8th house, that means that when it comes to 8th house matters, such as, I mean, I know a lot of times people think of occult, but you know, it does involve the occult, but also it also involves intimacy, exchange. It involves me, and it's my Venus that's there. So how much intimacy am I having? And is that intimacy not necessarily with other people, but how much self-intimacy am I having? Oh, it's in the 8th house. Oh, it's in the occult. Oh, okay. Well, what type of spirituality do I have? How intimate am I with that? How are my exchanges going? Oh, it's in Pisces. Okay, my Venus is in Pisces. All right. So when it comes to creativity, how creative have I been? Or have I just been maladaptive daydreaming or bullshit? Have I been escaping? Or have I been nurturing all of those elements of Venus and femininity? You know, that's like an example with somebody that might have their 10th house ruler in their 8th.
My Venus is.
Go ahead, Go ahead,
I was just gonna ask, how do you know where what house your midheaven is in? And that's something that I've been.
Thank you. Same question.
Oh,
because I'm on the thing right now trying to find it.
Your midheaven's your 10th house.
Wait a minute.
Oh, so that's your 10th house. Period. Got it.
Yeah.
Got
and
it.
Your 7th house is your descendant.
Okay. Got it.
Ascendant is your 1st house. Descendant is the 2nd house. It's the 7th house. Midheaven is the 10th house, and I forgot what the 4th house was called. It was called something. I forgot.
So my midheaven is abbreviated XMC. That's the midheaven.
MC.
Mine is Sagittarius.
Sagittarius. That makes sense. I'm just saying it makes sense because, like, I'm just thinking about you, and then just thinking about, like, wow, like how you come across as Jupiter to the world. You know, thinking about your reputation being, you know, Jupiter. That's philosophy. That's wisdom. That's religion. You know, just thinking about that. You know, right when you see you, we see spirit. You know, and we see wisdom. We see someone. Well, I know we're not. We may not practice Catholicism, but you give the energy of a priest. You know,
you know that happened to
Jupiter,
me. Real story, no joke, real story to what you just said. Just happened to me on my vacation. I went to Little Havana in Miami. Went to Botanica, a little Indica Botanica, fully stocked. You go in there, all you smell is fresh, like fresh bush. Okay, I'm checking out, making conversation with the man. The man don't even practice leukemia. He was from Peru and practicing with them. He said his main spirit was Ganesh. She said, but something about you, I just see you. every place I went, these old people say me, I see you. I see you. I'm like, okay, what do you mean? But now I understand, you give context to the statement. You give context to the statement. I understand it better now. You understand? But what does it mean to have my midhaven as a Sagittarius? What are the elements that, that I need to understand about self when it comes to that?
Sorry, my phone broke up just a tad. You said the elements of Sagittarius.
As my midhaven, yes.
Okay, with Sagittarius elements as far as your midheaven, similar to what I've been saying about with Jupiter. Sagittarius, it represents freedom. They're mutable freedom, just like how Aquarius is fixed freedom. It's all about exploring. It's all about getting to the truth. It's just like how they're like Sagittarius is the opposite of Gemini for a reason. Like why Gemini is all about the knowledge and the facts. Sagittarius is all about the wisdom. And sometimes it might not always end up with a whole lot of facts. There are many things in spirituality that may not always have solid, concrete facts, but it doesn't dismiss the fact that it's pure, total wisdom. So it's all about making sure about going on about like philosophy, like your philosophy and how that philosophy corresponds with the world, with community, and how it's like, what else is Sagittarius? Sagittarius energy is very profound.
He loves to travel.
It's just a very profound, beautiful, strong energy.
You got that travel bug for sure.
Definitely.
You do have that travel bug. Every time I see you on social media, you traveling.
Is that how it looks? I don't feel like I feel like I don't travel enough. Is that how it looks?
Yes, that is how it looks. On the outside looking in, it looks like you live a Sagittarius life. You are free. You are exploring. You are jovial. They're known for having that jovial spirit and being joyful. You have, it's not religion, but spirituality. You're spiritual. All of those things with Sagittarius.
And I don't feel myself. When I'm not in that element, like, for example, the reason that vacation happened was because a friend saw that I was stressing really bad. And to help me to decompress, to do what I have to do in preparation to what I have to do coming up soon, they said, okay, just pack a bag and we're going to leave. You understand? And that's how I ended up in Miami and on the water, and just being present in the space. And it was good for my mind. It was good for my body. It was good for my holistic being, and so because I was in a space where I felt like, again, being used to traveling and living a life where I could afford to travel and go when I want to go and all this other stuff, to shifting to not being able to as frequently, and just being open to receive a blessing to do so and not have to spend a dime. That was God in the midst, and so that's what I said. Is that really how it looks? I have to, but I'm grateful for that because that is who I truly
and you were
am on the
by
inside.
Jupiter with that.
And Jupiter actually just transited into Gemini not too long ago as well too. So I can dive a little bit into that as far as like Jupiter is a planet of expansion, it's like she said, the higher learning. And with it being in Gemini for the next I want to say 12 years, it's going to be a lot of like Gemini like energy, expanding the mind, expanding knowledge. It's going to be a lot of travel, us being a little bit more optimistic about learning different things. And we're in the age of Aquarius, so information is just everywhere. So I believe that everybody's going to be, because the Gemini energy is also like the child energy, the childlike energy, the wanting to learn, wanting to be a good student. If you notice, a lot of Geminis, they're very good students. Like they really are very smart, very intellectual. And it is going to be a time where we're going to be enlightened in a certain way. But it is about what you choose to expand upon, like whatever knowledge you're diving into, and whatever you're cultivating around you is important in regards to, what you expand around you, what you choose to believe. And we just had a full moon in Sagittarius as well too, where we were, I ritualized that, releasing things that, belief systems and things that don't really serve anymore, things that are, things that just, that don't serve you anymore, things that certain belief systems, sometimes we get so caught up and fixed in that. And I guess that speaks to my mutable energy too. Like, sometimes it is time to change and move around and travel and have a different scenery, and changing your view your viewpoints. And I think it's gonna be a little bit of a I feel like when it comes down to learning, it's gonna be a more optimistic time where we wanna, learn and pick up on whatever energy that we got going on. It's nothing wrong with, like locking in and fixing. And maybe that's my Virgo energy speaking as well too. It's like being able to learn about herbs, and there's certain herbs that are also tied to the constellations as well too, and knowing how to heal your body, and when to grow plants, when it comes to agriculture. It was a lot of Taurus energy going on the past few years, before the North Nodes changed. So I also believe in like being current and understanding these placements and these transits to kind of better understand yourself and understand what's happening around you, and how to maximize that energy as well too. So that's why we're always forever creating and expanding. So I feel like it's gonna be a really, good time to just really just dive into like astrology, to dive more into the occult wisdom, but also not internalizing it to the point that where, we have things like the Diddy situation being exposed. A lot of Pluto energy.
Yeah.
So I have
Okay.
a question.
Go ahead, Rain, and then we're gonna get
To
into
piggyback
there's
off
two
what
more
you
from Instagram.
Go
Go
said.
ahead, Rain. Go ahead, Rain.
Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Come back to me. My train of thought just went completely out the window.
I'm so sorry. My apologies for cutting you. I think it's a lapse. My apologies. I was saying that there's some from Instagram, and I don't want to overlook the viewers on Instagram because, from whatever reason, Instagram comments does not come onto live on StreamYard. I get everyone but Instagram, and I want to show Instagram viewers some love as well. And so, one, Mama Kashima mentioned her second house being in Leo. Okay, I want to touch on that, and then I want to go into the second comment coming from Instagram.
I mean, I could touch on the Saturn in the second house. The Saturn being in second house, that's your money house. That's the house that your stability, your earnings, or how you cultivate. It also is about land, and it's the house that's ruled by Taurus. It's coincide with Taurus. And with it being in Leo, another fixed sign, we talked about, the quadrants. We talked about how that fixed energy is, I feel like it's well supported. So it's just really about, you learning lessons about managing your resources, managing your assets, financial stability in that way. And with it being in Leo, I feel like that's definitely, a highlight. The Leo, it definitely shines the light in that area. I don't know what your sun sign is, or and how that manifests and how that is expressed. It just all depends on what's happening. Also, like I said, with the transits.
That my question has come back
I
to
should.
me. Thank you for you. My question
Go
has
ahead,
come back.
Rain.
As you touched on the transit, can you give us a major transit that we should be looking forward to or know about, and how could we utilize that energy to our benefit? Is there anything coming up, or is there anything occurring that we should know about?
Definitely. We are in the Gemini season, of course. And then we just had Jupiter, which is its opposite ruler sign of Sagittarius. It depends on, once again, that placement and what house you're working in. Depending on what house you're working in that aspect. So if you're working in the first house, it's, expanding upon your creativity when it comes down to your identity and who you are. When it comes down to your second house, like we talked about with Kashima, that's your money house. How do you creatively earn your money, and how you expand on that. Your third house is more so your creativity as well too. That's also your community. That's also how you self-express. That's also like your sibling house, your community, the community work that you do, how you expand upon that creatively. And if you're working in the fourth house is about the house of home, the house of the relationship with your mother. The fourth house energy is also about, comfort, so how are you expanding in that aspect? Or maybe you're about to become a mother, or you thinking about, expanding in that way. The fifth house is more so about recreational fun, your hobbies, how you creatively express through your hobbies and what you're expanding upon in that aspect. And then you have your sixth house, which is your mental health. It's how you your routines, your rituals, how you interact with animals and your pets around you. You may get a pet. You may have a pet to, maybe support you in your endeavors. If you're working in that sixth house. And it's also about like your mental health, more importantly, your mental health, your routines that kind of support your mental stability. And then talking about the seventh house, that's expanding upon your creativity within your relationships. Maybe you are dating, maybe that's opening up for you. Maybe there's some love attractions around you. And that could be happening, like I said, within now. And you're thinking about the next 12 years of what you expound upon. It's like a 12-year cycle. And then the eighth house is about inheritance. It's about your sensuality, your sexuality, also how you do life in general. Based off like the wisdoms of your family, maybe, or the inheritance from your family. Maybe somebody may be transitioning, and it may be something to expand on in that aspect, or maybe somebody who transitioned beforehand, and maybe some inheritance. In that aspect, I look at the eighth house in that way. And the ninth house is also about your belief systems, your spirituality, what you choose to dive into spiritually, what religious practices or things that you religiously create for yourself. And then your 10th house is, we talked about the 10th house a lot today when we talked about the midheaven. The 10th house is more so in regards to, once again, your reputation. Maybe you are taking a leadership role if you got some energy going on in the 7th house, in the 10th house, where you may be front and center, you're in the leadership role, or, you may be expanding your home as well. The 10th house also speaks about like your stability in that aspect too, like your home life and how you structure your home, and how your family values is also important with the 10th house. And the 11th house is, you'll be expanding upon, your social network, how you use social media and how you relate to your friends and your network around you. And then lastly, we have the 12th house. The 12th house is more of your subconscious mind. It's also a spiritual house. It's also the house of, just your spiritual beliefs, and maybe diving a little deeper into the subconscious, your dreams, the messages that come on, maybe, having more meditation. And if you are in a dreamy state, it's like that 12th house Piscean energy. So that's really what to expect, for yourself, depending on what house you're working in. That's something that you can utilize that energy, or understand that the aspect in your chart and how it relates to the transit that's happening right now. Which is, like I said, I think it transited on the 25th of May is when it transited, and it's going to be there for 12 years.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you.
So, somebody playing some good voodoo in the background. I love it. So, last thing, then we're going to shift gears because Aviam sent me something that I think is really good and adds the element of Wild Wednesday, and is very thought provoking and ties into what we're discussing tonight. So, as before we shift gears, someone asked in Instagram, can you share some insight about a Sagittarius rising?
Yeah, Sagittarius rising. That's my placement. Sagittarius rising is more so about, wisdom, about knowledge, about teaching. It's that Jupiterian energy. And I believe all the mutable signs will feel this more so. Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, and Pisces. If you are a mutable sign, you may feel this energy as it is transiting. But Sagittarius rising is also It's more about the adventure. It's about the adventure.
Okay.
It's about the journey. It's about the wisdom that you gather along the journey, in your own way. Um, Sagittarius energy is also the storyteller of the zodiac. It's like the all wise storyteller, that
I like
understands
that.
certain
I like that.
things in life and shares wisdom um and gets the story straight, because that's why we also love, honesty, truth telling. What about double
Okay.
Libra?
And last one, yes, from Mumbo Danielle.
Hey, what about double Libra? Is that in the moon sign and the rising sign, or the rising sign and the sun sign? But either way, Libra energy is
Yes, what
Venus.
placement?
That's Venus ruled. Venus ruled energy. Period. I believe that Libras are like very much gatekeepers. They're the people that are like the in between world. They are about
Linked by
justice.
energy.
Yeah, for sure.
My yeah,
My aunt is
My
yes.
yacht.
aunt energy,
Yes.
balance,
Divine
Saturn
love.
mother.
exalted in Libra as well. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, moon and sun is in Libra.
Nice.
Okay, yeah. So your moon sign and that's your moon sign is your subconscious mind, it's your emotions. It's also tied into the moon aspect of your relationship with your mother. So I don't know if you had your mother may have been a cardinal sign, or also, in that aspect. So I double Libra energy is it could be a little superficial sometimes, in the off balanced, but in balance, it is justice seeking. It is love energy, very diplomatic, and doesn't really
Hmm.
like confrontation. So
They don't.
self-expression, creativity, they can be very in between people. So yeah, they don't choose sides. They believe in balance. I believe Sagittarius and Libras are they're like the judges. They're good judges of the zodiac. Yeah,
When it
1961.
comes to a Libra Sun, Libra Moon type, like you said before, like they are Venus. And when it comes to like one of the devolved things about Venus is that superficiality that you referenced. Because like when you think of Venus, somebody who is a Libra who can only play this role was Karen Parsons. I think her last name is Parsons. She was Hillary Banks. That is
Mm,
a pure example. She is a Libra sun who definitely played the story of a Libra sun woman well, that was really into superficiality and would get into relationships for superficiality.
yeah,
Oftentimes, like I notice when it comes to Libra, especially the women, well, the men too, but the women especially, they know how to work that honey. I don't know, they just exist. And they can attract bees to them. They're like the flower that blooms and all of these bees come. But the thing about Libras is that, like, even with the men, they even have a lot of women. I noticed that flock to them as well, because that Venus energy can really pull people to you. And
yeah,
people, they like Venus. They like Venus. It's like seeing
Yes. Yes.
it's like seeing like a beautiful flower out of the concrete. No
yeah,
matter where they go, they can get that type of love. But also, there are a lot of Libras who are very charming, but can be just as shisty as they are charming. Who
They
can be
say
just
lion
as
Libras is a
shady.
thing. They say
That
lion
personality
Libras.
that a lot of Libras have can lead them to doing a
They're
lot
good
of passive
lawyers.
aggressive actions. No, like Libras, they don't like conflict. They have that first house, seventh house axis. The first house represent with Aries, with them being about self. Libra is about us, seventh house. That axis, that duality, that right there, it kind of shows you like there are times Libras do need to put themselves first. They do need to put their feelings first. They do need to communicate and honor themselves in
Mm.
that way. They're like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like how we went about that. They need to understand that confrontation can be healthy. It doesn't have to be nothing where it involves us being adults fist fighting like we're high schoolers.
Like
It
a
doesn't have to
child.
be something that's explosive. It can literally be you calling someone and saying, hey, I want to talk about this. Do you have the time? It
Yep.
does not have to lead to a lot of our Libras being passive aggressive, because they have this thing where they don't want to be disliked. Like they
Yes.
feel being liked is a way to feel safe and protected. And a lot of people that have aspects to Venus on their ascendant or on their sun or on their moon, they might have similar tendencies. Because when they feel, oh, these people like me, I'm safe. I don't have to worry. Oh, if I please these people, I'm going to be safe. So you'll see a lot of people, especially Libra women, with all of these controlling niggas. Well, I didn't want to cuss, but a lot of them attract a lot of controlling men.
You're good.
There, I see a lot with Capricorn all the time. I see Libra, Capricorn.
Hey, Baptist finger.
As
Go
a
ahead.
Libra moon, I like identify with everything that you say. Like it's even especially like in my relationship, I find myself very much attracted to overly dominant men. You know, very aggressive people.
Dominant men with money, and usually y'all like older men. Y'all love that. And then on top of that, you know, what else was I gonna mention? Oh yeah, Libra. Okay, when you are born as a Libra, like when you're a little Libra, when you're a young Libra moon or a Libra sun, those two in Pacific, not necessarily the risings more so, but you guys often have to choose between two parents. You guys are looking like, oh, I gotta make sure mommy's pleased and happy. I gotta make sure daddy's pleased or happy. Or if it's not like, or if you come from a single parent household, I gotta make sure mommy's all right. I gotta make sure my brothers are all right, my sisters. You always feel like I have to take care of everyone. I have to make sure everyone's happy. I have to make sure everyone's safe so that I'm safe.
Mm-hmm.
That you guys sometimes can neglect what you guys like. Well, Libras can neglect what they even like. They can be so go with the flow. They can be so I don't want to stir anything that they lose themselves. And depending on all of the other placements of their chart, you know, they have to be really mindful because let's say they might be a Libra sun, but let's say the moon's in the 12th house or something, or they got a lot of 12th house placements. It might be very easy for them to lose themselves in their subconscious mind. And then Libra being an air sign about intellect, they probably are like overthinking and creating narratives and scenarios that might not serve them at all if they have those 12th house placements and they're not being honest with themselves. Yeah. So yeah, like your life to be like, it's really important in your life to literally learn yourself, not just the superficial of how everything looks and that you like money. There's nothing wrong with abundance. Abundance is wonderful, but just knowing like, what is it that makes me the individual happy? What do I, the individual, like? What do I want for my life? You know, you can't find your purpose worrying about trying to make everybody happy. Because then your purpose will be gone while you were just a supporting character to the person who's the main character story in their life.
That is so true.
So true. So true. So as we shift gears, so how dropping y'all drop all everybody dropping jewels tonight, and I love it. So as we shift gears and add a little pepper to the next time, you know, Aviam sent me something quite delicious. You know, because I'm a lover of scripture and I'm a lover of sacred texts. You know, and everything can be proven historically, no matter what spiritual practice you follow. Now, you know, doctrine may vary depending upon the school or temple or schooling and things you were brought up on, you know, because a lot of us grew up and a lot of us, you know, come from Abrahamic backgrounds, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, you know, and so we have certain teachings, and even within those sectors, there are different denominations. But long story short, everybody does not cover the whole of the sacred text with understanding. And so I think for us as Black people, especially us in the diaspora, you know, Caribbean American, African American, you know, Latino American, we get a disadvantage when it comes to learning scripture and holy text when it comes to the Bible that we were given. You know, and Avian pointed out some sacred texts that highlights the whole purpose of why we are having the discussions that we're having, coming from the book of Job, chapter 38. Okay, and I'm going to read some scripture text here. And first, giving context and background in this particular scripture, Job was going through a situation, being tested and tried, temptation and all. Okay, tempted and tried in every situation. And he had a one-on-one encounter with God. And in that one-on-one encounter with God, after sharing and pouring out himself, God made a visitation and talked to him. And these very words, according to the Bible, according to the holy text of the Bible, is a conversation in the words that God gave in response to Job and the condition and state that he was in. Not to go into the full text, but I'm going to read where I find to be very viable, okay, and very important to start, okay, starting here. And this is God's conversation to Job. Surely you know, for you were already born, You have already lived so many years. Have you entered the storehouses of the snow or seen the storehouses of the hail, which I have reserved for times of trouble, for days of war and battle? What is the way to the place where the lightning is dispersed, or the place where the east winds are scattered over the earth? Who cuts a channel for the torrent of rain and a path for the thunderstorms, to water and land where no one lives in uninhabited deserts, to satisfy a desolate wasteland and make it sprout with grass? Does the rain have a father? Whose father does the drops dew? From whose womb does the ice? Who gives birth to the frost from the heavens? When the waters become hard as stone, when the surface of the deep is frozen, can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Can you loosen Orion's belt? Can you bring forth the constellations in their seasons, or lead out the bear with its cubs? Do you know the laws of the heavens? Can you set up God's dominion over the earth? Can you raise your voice to the clouds and cover yourself with a flood of water? Do you send the lightning bolts to their weights? Do they report to you? Here we are. Who gives the ibis wisdom, or the rooster understanding? Who has the wisdom to count the clouds? Who can tip over the water jars of the heaven? When the dust becomes hard and the clouds of the earth sticks together, do you hunt the prey for the lioness and satisfy the hunger of the lion? When they crouch in their dens and lie and wait in the thickness, who provides food for the raven when its young cry out to God and wanders about for the lack of food? This is very important because this text highlights, number one, that God created everything. A lot of us were misled to believe that, understanding astrology, understanding the constellation, understanding the motion of the importance of the elements and the importance of the God power within, internally and externally, living within you. A lot of us get caught up in these false teachings that, the stars and the constellations have no impact on who you are as a believer, no impact on who you are as a person, no impact on who you are in the relationships that you build, the way that your families are structured, the way that you perceive the world, the way that you love, the way that you feel internally and externally. But here it is for those that may come from Abrahamic beliefs and even may still hold on to some of them and operate and navigate in between as spiritualists. Know that every essence that God has created in this world, seen and unseen, lies within you, lies within your conscious, lies within your subconscious, lies within the makings and the fibers of your being, the construct of your carcass. Everything is interconnected. To understand the stars, to understand the constellation, is to understand you, to understand the mysteries of God just a little bit that He and she and them and they allow us to understand. But it takes for you, the individual that is driving the vehicle, to open your conscious and your subconscious and be willing to do the work and to dive in and to question and to understand. Because to question and to understand is to better know who and what God is. It's to better know your placement and your purpose in this existence. It is important. Don't run from it. I would like to hear from my queens. They turned their camera off. Where y'all go? Come back on the camera. I want to hear you guys' feedback on the text presented, especially you, Avi, for presenting it. And then I know Mother Rain gonna come with some water, and she probably already taken that in too. And so even Asher, whether I want to hear from the ladies. I have 3 ladies, and even when we talk about God, let me talk. Hey, hey, hey. When we talk about God, we must understand that duality is important. Okay, and oftentimes we are depicted to understand God universally as this masculine energy. That is fine. But I want to drop a mystery on that is also universal. A universal mystery is that the female counterpart of God, they will find every corner of the universe and every spiritual system. And even if you dive into your holy texts as Abrahamic believers, you will find it there as well. Comes three women bearing mysteries in their womb, all operating in different elements, all different principles, different vibrations, all in the feminine wholesomeness of God. And if it was not for the mothers, where would we be? So I want to know from the women that are with us, what are their insight on that holy text?
When I remember when I read that text out of Job. I don't know what was going on me, but I just started the whole book of Job. And in all honesty, to the book of Job, sorry for that man. He was a good person, did nothing in the had a great, and then God, then Satan, angel by his side, and then asked the Lord God about Job, and then that's when all of it went down when he said, "Oh, he ain't gonna love you and have faith if all of this terrible stuff happens in his life." I mean, it's easy to love God if your life's been great, right? Job ends up having his children dying, his wife dying. He ends up getting sick. He ends up losing everything. All just because the devil tried him, just to say, oh, he has a good life. I bet you if he went through something, he won't even fuck with you. Oh, okay, go ahead, try him. The innocent guy, the guy that was probably the closest to being like Jesus, if anything, before Jesus came, maybe. Not to sound like I'm, being combative towards that spiritual
No.
deity.
You're speaking.
I have a
You're
lot of,
giving
I
his
love God.
facts.
But all I'm saying is that then, right when Job asked, why is this happening to me? He just wants to know why. He never gave up his faith. He always stayed loyal. He always had love. His friends even was telling him, you must have done something for all of this to happen. He just wants to understand. And then what does God do? He just goes into a whole soliloquy that about asking him things that are literally beyond, that was probably what could have been his comprehension. He asked him, oh, well, do you know how the constellations come up? Do you know when the constellations come up? When does Aries come up? Who brings them up? Who shoots out the lightning bolts? Who makes sure there was something about the womb and who birthed something in there? He asked him about the waters. He asked him about all these aspects of creation and never answers his question. Who binds the Pleiadian clusters of stars? Who loosens the Orion spell? Job, I'm like, man, he went through something so incredibly tough and remain loyal and remain good. Then later ends up, just wanting to have an understanding, which sounds very human after going through that suffering and never received it. But he did get blessed tenfold, as they say. But still, I would think, as a human, wouldn't he still feel some type of, some type of remorse, some type of like, man, this happened to me. I'll never understand why. It's beyond me on why. And I'm asked all these questions that in some cases, probably Yahweh or Ahaya Shahaya, whichever name you choose, the Judeo-Christian God probably would never let him have. And that made me reflect on my life, why good things happen, bad things happen to good people. And so I'm still trying to understand.
Drop the gems today, real easy. Drop the gems today. Give the people their homework. We ain't even gonna get into that. We're gonna come back on that later. But I do drop the gem on the Yahweh story real smooth, and I applaud you for that. Real smooth, real smooth, real smooth. Oh yes. Come on, Astro Woman. What's your thoughts?
Man, I need to read the book of Job. Is what my thoughts is.
I understand it, but listen.
Well, to be quite honest,
speaking from the. Go ahead. I don't want to cut your flow. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, to be quite honest, I don't read from the Bible. I've absorbed it like I do any other book. It's in my subconscious, but I go inward. So now that I feel
okay, but even looking at the text, I go. you just made a very valid point right there, inward. Connecting that to Aviam and the element of Job's experience and posing those questions to God, that was a whole inward experience. That conversation with God and that soliloquy could have come in a dream. It could have come in a vision. It could have come with a form, and you hear in the higher consciousness, because people have their visitations differently. But speaking from your inward experience and understanding like your personal time of talking to God, and going inward. Sometimes having those open-ended questions that leave you reflecting, but also leave you to the state of having to dive in deeper to understand the answer.
And I know it might sound like contradictory, but when he was asking Job all these questions, like a part of me was wondering, like when he said, "Who cast out the lightning?" I was like, "Is it Oya? Is it Shango?" Like I'm thinking that in the back of my head, Like if
Good.
you're gonna
Okay,
ask me
I
these
like that.
questions, if I'm going under spiritual attack, and you're asking me this, and I have no idea, is it you? I'm like, is that who you sending down? Is it an angel from the cherubim? Is it Gabriel? Is it Michael? You know what I'm saying?
I love it. Okay, now
You
when
got
you bring that
Alicia
up,
doing it, and you
Avi,
ain't telling us.
that's a beautiful question. But hear this now. We talk about the writers of the text. There's so much gaps in the Bible that we read that is missing, which is why it's important what Fallon said, going in, that is very important because there's so much missing. These are just little chemtrails that plant little seeds that are to cause you to go deeper and to go within yourself and have the time to commune with God. Because as you said, when we talk about the elements, okay, we can talk about I'm glad God mentioned the elements itself, water and wind, for example, because every tradition gonna have a different Oya, a different Shango. You understand that the spirit is still gonna exist, but by a different name. That aspect isn't too deep to necessarily go into. It's more so the mixture of how to tap into that vibration of that energy. If it's for me to call Oya, how do I call Oya? If it's for me back then in Hebrew land in that territory where they were to call whatever energy it was to activate, it's to God show me how to tap into that energy to do what I need to do. So I agree with you. Give me a name. Give me a name. Now we didn't go further in the text. That's something for me to go back in and come back and give y'all an answer because we didn't go further in the text to see did he get a name. We saw the initiation of the conversation with God. But I think what is important to highlight is again God acknowledging the elements and the importance of the elements. And then two, the importance again, the constellation and its parallel and connection to us as operating here below. So even if the question is for Job to say, yo, let me think about that. Okay, how does this constellation impact me? Because maybe I was navigating and didn't have no idea to think about the constellation, to study the stars. Because if I go over yonder to a next village or 2 or 3 more villages over, there's maybe somebody that can teach me something about the stars that I now add to what it is that I now know. Does that make sense? Rain, were you going to say something?
I just wanted to say that the study of the constellations, the studies of the planet has been around since ancient times. So it's not surprising to me that we find it mentioned in the book of the Bible. The problem is when you have different religious views that take place and become part of the cultural fabric, then you're going to have people who say that you can't practice this, you can't practice that. But if you actually read the Bible, some of the highest science that we can think about is present and spoken about throughout the text. To piggyback off of what Avi said about wanting these answers from God, I feel like the story of Job within itself is to show us that humility is key. We'll never have the answers from God, and that's something we just have to be okay with. He's God. He owes us nothing. He can do whatever he wants to do because simply he's God. Sometimes I think about the type of God that we serve and we look at the difference of the Old Testament God and the New Testament God. He's an evolving being, just as we are, because we are God and he's us. So the same way that we go through these evolution processes, God is going through these evolution processes. I can imagine being a young God with all this power to do whatever I want to do, I don't have to give you an explanation. I'm going to fill your mind with things to pontificate from, because throughout these journeys, just like we go through journeys in life and we have to learn these lessons, whether we want to learn these lessons, I feel like that's what he was trying to teach Job, to like stay focused on the
I
grander
should.
concept of life, because life is going to life. Things are going to happen, but you still have to hold on to the anchor that is the faith in me, and have that humility to
Mm.
endure whatever I may put you through.
That's a word today,
Yep.
baby. That's
Oh
a
yeah,
word
and it's
today.
true. It's true. It's true, Rain. It's so true, because even as we grow and navigate in these spiritual practices, whether no matter where you fall, I've learned that, for example, someone may be in the practice of Ifa, but you may be a child of Oya. You don't have to get deep into the mysteries of Ogun or deep into the mysteries of Oshun. You still give reverence, and if it comes like I need to give pour a little water, receive Oshun as far as a shrine, or give a little offering when I give an ebo and acknowledge Oshun, wonderful. But is it my duty to understand the vastness and the mysteries of who and what Oshun is? No, I understand the fundamentals and her principle and the essence and the foundation of who she is. But the mysteries are left to the priests and the children of Oshun. I'm a child of Oya. So let me understand the mysteries of Oya and some mysteries of Shango, and how to better my character and how to better my being and my mindset and how to evolve. And so back to what Rain was saying, to pontificate on those things, to think about it and reflect, and to also acknowledge that life is simpler than that. Some mysteries are so great, God cannot, one person can't hold the mysteries of God. And we'll get lost in the sauce trying to figure out every little small detail. It's not our responsibility to know every little small detail. Don't get lost in the sauce.
And that's
Find
12th
out what's for
house.
you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
12th house energy.
find
That's
out
what
what's for
Avian was
you.
talking about. Yeah, Avian was saying, like, when you have like if you have a bunch of Libra placements in the 12th house, you lose yourself, and that's what we're going through right now. We are in a psychological war right now, with Pisces being in Saturn right now. With Pisces being in Saturn for the next 2 years, we are it may feel like an attack on the psyche. It may feel like a lot of people are losing sight. There are a lot of walking zombies out here, and that's not actually really conscious of their decision making and being intentional. So a lot of people don't have that, and there's so many different waves of awakening, and I feel like it's another one with this Piscean energy. And we as teachers have to step up and be able to educate and to be able to teach. Um, and I
Mm-hmm.
learned that from my
Mm-hmm.
own lesson in life, to not be condescending. Sometimes you have to even learn through your students. I learned through my students a lot. The people who come to me, I learn from them a lot. And
I should.
you know, I feel like and as we are understanding our individuality at this time with the North Node and the Aries, um, we are in a time where we are setting ourselves apart from certain relations and people who are not supposed to be, everything, like you said, everything don't need an explanation, even the cutoffs. If things that happen abruptly in your life, like we be questioning why me, why me? And I feel, why not you? And we talked about my eye energy, in regards to even learning how to receive. You become the martyr when it's always you giving and giving and giving and giving. So sometimes you have to learn how to give to yourself, and go, like, really go inward to figure out what your body needs to replenish what's around you, so you can have the insight to be able to connect. So
I
I,
should.
I do believe also we should start understanding the moon cycles more frequently for our moon cycles. I've been around a lot of women who had their cycles on the new moon when it happened. Certain things that just matters, even with your body, even with how you connect in relationships, like understanding these transits and how you relate to them. You get a lot of insight just understanding and knowing. So and it takes for you to understand yourself. So if you don't know how you're subconsciously moving and how you view, you're knowing your rising sign, knowing how people view you is important it's important to a degree. Like, to just kind of sum that all up. And I think that's why, and I want to read more. And that Bible verse, I really appreciate Avian for sharing that perspective in when understanding religion and understanding different belief systems, because you have to tap into different stuff because we're all mixed bloodline as well too. Like, a lot of us is not just one portion. Same thing with the
Yes,
stars and the
yes,
planets.
yes.
We're manifestations of that. We are walking stars. We are supernovas. We are that. And when you understand and master your energy, you know what you're creating by what you're putting in your environment, with that self-awareness.
I've enjoyed tonight's conversation, and I thank you all for joining tonight. It's been wonderful. It's been edifying. It's been fulfilling in many ways. Thank you guys for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and your love with us. It's just been wonderful. You guys find these queens on social media, support them, book your sessions, and get your chart readings. Dive deeper into your personal stories and personal journeys. Allow them to help you to dig up and define the things that you need to find, to get where you need to go. And so I'm very grateful for you all joining us tonight again. For those of you that came a little later, you can go back and view the live from beginning. You can also share the live. You can send it to your email, share with people, because it's also on YouTube. For those of you on YouTube, I thank you. Share, subscribe, heart, follow, all that good stuff, and just continue to spread the love. And again, thank you all. I pray for blessings. I pray for awareness. I pray for abundance to come in this time of transition. Although it may seem like a shadow period, may we find victory and hold fast to the light and be present in the goodness when we are in spaces of goodness. Learn how to discern and identify, even praying for the wisdom to be able to shift and gain the alchemy. Know how to utilize the alchemy, the internal alchemy, the external alchemy to shift our environment and our atmospheres to align with where we are trying to go and achieve in our life. Again, so I thank you all. I love you all. I leave you all in peace. I leave you all in love, and I leave you all in oneness. Enjoy your evening. Rest well. Rest well. Rest well. Good night.
Good night.
Sun rays like a satellite. Energies bring me back to life. Catch me chilling with the elo. Universal flow, I belong here. Keep that focus on that starlight. God of my universe, part of my mission, righteous the Almighty. Raw splitting the sea into that clear sight. Go far into vision, lifting up that soul right. High low, high low. High low, high low, elevate my love, generate my touch, everything I see coming to me, I'm knowing, fruits that I bear from the sowing, I just put in work to the